Hi, my name is Jo Hadley. This is my podcast, Being a Human Lighthouse. I'm a somatic therapist and counselor. I was a physiotherapist for many decades, and it was that work that led me to see and know in my own life and in the life of my clients that a lot of what has happened to us in the past, if it's not resolved, can get trapped and held in our bodies. This unresolved tension and emotions, faulty belief patterns can create and contribute to our chronic symptoms, chronic pain, and lots of recurrent issues that often occur and recur in our lives. Often treatment solutions don't address the root causes. I've been interested in examining what is it that will really create true healing and our best life for us to reach the best version of ourselves that's underneath all these layers of unprocessed pain and emotions. I've been applying these tools to my own life. And I think every single human, unless they've reached Buddha status or Christ consciousness, has some sort of issues or patterns that aren't serving them or can be contributing to issues in their life. It depends on many variables, of course. You know, we can have terrible circumstances, but if we have enough supportive, loving, nurturing variables in our life, we don't necessarily experience traumas or these residual faulty patterns. But most of us have something. And I would say all of us have something, just to varying degrees. I do this work myself because I'm a human and because I've recognized how these traumas and patterns have started in my own life and how sometimes health, sometimes injuries, but most commonly, often, how different patterns kept recurring over and over again in my life and how I was sabotaging some things. I inherently knew when I was growing up by watching my parents and and especially my father, who was an alcoholic. I learned by watching him that people who are addicted to something have a deep inner pain that they just can't express or truly understand. I saw in him a man who loved his family, but the alcohol and his addiction was clearly a stronger magnet and it changed his behavior. I could see the good person underneath the pain, but often these patterns were more powerful and were in control of his behavior. I knew his family story, or as an adult, I've come to understand his family story, and I could see from the line of people he came from a long line of alcoholics and violence, mental health issues, depression, that a lot of these issues shaped him, as well as the time and period of history which he was growing up in. These all affect us and how we respond and react and hold on to things. I could see how these situations could affect a child who then grows into an adult who doesn't know how to express their feelings or understand what's going on. I also had a mother who had mental health issues. And I knew enough of her life to know that she was unhappy and trapped in a marriage that she didn't want to be in. But she'd been told by a family that she had to stay, that divorce wasn't acceptable. And often later on, when she wanted to leave, she was advised to stay. I could see the pressures on her and how having to fight what she really wanted to do and live in a situation that she wasn't happy in, it was very deeply unhappy, could then shape her health. And in her way of coping, she ended up with mental health issues, with lots of depression, anxiety. I've heard many stories of clients and patients over the years. And when you hear people come back over and over again with the same issue, you get to know them. You get to hear their background. And as I've learned more about how what's happened to us influences our health and our emotions and how our behaviors, I need to ask better questions. Also, I also wanted to be a writer. So I was always very interested that people behaved and acted in certain ways because of what had happened to them. So I think I inherently knew this, or at least in some form. Definitely over the last decade, with the studies and interest that I've had in going into the body and addressing these traumas and patterns, it's got a lot clearer to me. But I can understand that I've had an essence of this understanding my whole life. I've always been interested in healing and what true health is, what is our true nature, and how we can live to our according to our highest potentials. How do we get to live a life that we love, not have to just endure? It doesn't seem fair. So that's where I am now. I have a higher understanding, and I'm well aware that there's way more understanding that I need to get to, and that I'm in an evolutionary process myself. I've definitely reached a higher level of perspective than I once had. I've grown a lot, but I'm aware there's still a lot of growth to go. What I say today may be different to what I say tomorrow as I learn more and grow more and evolve more. Today, in my podcast, I'm examining the process of surrender, which I've come to believe is one of the most important processes in the path to true health and living our highest potential. We all have an inner wisdom within us, this inner essence that just knows how to guide us in the right direction. It knows how to heal us. It knows how to access our immune system and stimulate the immune system so we can heal from illnesses or, heal fractures. It's a part of ourselves. It's a perfect version of ourselves, whatever perfect may be. Now, the gap between this true self and who we're expressing can often be resulting in some of these chronic issues we have in health, in illnesses, pain, or in behaviors and life circumstances, relationship issues. Whatever is showing up in our life as a dysfunction or a fault or a problem is pointing us towards healing and accessing this higher potential. And by tuning into our inner wisdom, we can be guided ever closer towards this higher potential of ourselves. So surrender or letting go is a very simple theory, but not always easily done. Surrender or letting go is basically tuning into our body and feeling the feelings that are there and releasing them and letting them go to a higher power or to the universe or to something higher than ourselves. If I go back a step, we often concentrate on our thoughts and what we're thinking. And often we can analyze things and get trapped in our mind by thinking, thoughts. But research has shown that our body or our subconscious organizes our memories and thoughts into groups according to the feelings that are associated with them. So if we find and feel a certain feeling, all the associated thoughts are organized and attached to those feelings. So basically, by addressing the feelings, which are the root cause, if we can surrender those feelings, we surrender the thoughts that are associated with them. You can address the thoughts, but sometimes the feeling can be a much quicker way to do it. Sometimes you can do both together. There's no one way to do anything, but my favorite way is about going into the body. It's why I'm a somatic therapist. I focus on what's held in the body, knowing that other people, there may be other ways that do the same thing. But this is my path, my way of doing it. And I just like to share what I've discovered, uncovered, and what I work for myself or what works for myself. There are many, many, many ways and paths to the same place. So basically, the most important thing is you find your own path. And by hearing a lot of different versions and ideas, you can find and understand your path. So for me, there's a feeling or belief that can create a sensation or feeling within the body. So tuning into the body and being able to feel that feeling safely with non-judgment. Because if we fear the feelings that we're feeling, or if we get concerned about them and start analyzing them, it's not going to work. We've triggered the fear factor. We're out of a regulated nervous system. It doesn't work. We have to feel safe. We have to come from a regulated nervous system state. You can't surrender if you're feeling unsafe. Because these patterns start from feeling unsafe. They're developed to help protect us when we are dysregulated and feeling under threat. We can only heal them by feeling safe in relationship to ourselves or in relationship to safe other witnesses and observers. We need to be curious and not non-judgmental, just to sit in safety and notice them on our own or in the presence of this safe witness. That can be a somatic therapist. It could be a friend. It could be a family member. Someone who's safe, who allows you to feel your feelings and you know you won't be judged. So as we can sit and patiently feel these feelings, eventually they'll move through and out. It can be a quick process. Sometimes it can take repeated practices over days, months, years even. Just keep going back, resurrendering. Sometimes they will pass through and we feel like we have surrendered, and then it comes back, and that can just be another deeper layer coming up to be healed. That's a good thing, because we can't do everything at once. We can't just get rid of the whole mountain. It's like one teaspoon or one shovelful, one issue and emotion at a time. We have to do it at our own pace that's safe. Otherwise, if we're overwhelmed, we can then again feel unsafe, dysregulated, and we go back to square one. How do we know we've surrendered something? Because when we have, we feel lighter. We feel more peace. Again, this can be temporary until the next layer comes up. But every time we surrender and feel lighter, we have healed something. We are carrying less baggage. We are closer to that inner essence, that true self that lies shining bright within all of us. So feeling a sense of lightness and inner peace is the guide of our inner wisdom, telling us we're on the right path. We have let something go. We have transcended to a higher level. For me, it's really easy to do this surrendering with some of the simpler things, even some of the medium issues in my life. But I have found it extremely challenging for this one particular pattern that I've been dealing with for the past few months. As I've shared before in my podcast and my posts, that I'm going through and living an intense dark night of the soul. Everything from my past is just being taken away, and I'm seeing that I made a lot of progress over the past decades with my work. But if I truly want to get to this deeper level, the next deeper level, I've got to really, really, really show my commitment to using these spiritual tools. I've been willing to, but I have noticed that I keep coming back to this one pattern, a little fear pattern that if I have to describe it metaphorically or as a writer, I would say it's a little pattern within me. It may be a 2-year-old, it may be younger. It's like it's trapped in a little glass bottle. It can see out through the glass. It can see the infinite expanse of potential. It can see how wonderful everything can be out there, but it doesn't want to leave its little bottle because it's safe and secure and can control that little space. It would rather stay small and stuck in a small confined space that it can control than to let the walls of the bottle disappear and check out what's beyond the walls, what it can see, and what it can see is good. Infinite potential of the universe. It's terrified. It's terrified of losing its control because this little pattern has kept me safe all my life. It developed when I was young, very young. I can see how it's helped me in the past because before I acquired the knowledge that I have now, before I could understand the spiritual tools and this science has confirmed it and allowed me to understand on a deeper level, I didn't know. I was, surrounded by people who also didn't know. So again, we're always doing the best we can. And so as any little pattern does, it's there and develops when we are too young or too small or not able to do anything else. It's our safety mechanism, a coping strategy. And I can see how this has helped me many times in the past, because many times in the past, I've come to this same sort of fork in the road, this potential to go into the unknown, but I've often stayed safe. I've made choices that have kept me safe. And this pattern has always done that. I didn't know the pattern was there then. I just thought I was making the best decision I could at the time, which I was. But now I see from a higher perspective, because I've done a lot of extra work, that there's a pattern. And the universe, in its infinite wisdom, has blocked all my usual pattern solving potential. So things that I used to do when I got into a bit of fear or panic, wanting to make a quick decision or solve the problem, those choices aren't available to me now. They've been blocked. And you can see, it just reinforced my trust and faith that there is a higher power, because it's quite ironic how all these paths have been blocked. Just usually I would just automatically choose and go down. I've had lots of progress. I've done a lot of progress. The last few months, I've really dug deep into spiritual tools. I've surrendered over and over again. I've actually got the walls to drop, but this little pattern still doesn't want to move from its spot, even though the walls have disappeared. Sometimes we practice with safety, like I'm holding its hand. I picture lots of love, holding its hand and allowing it to take the tentative steps of safety outside this little sphere of influence and control. So yes, there's positive changes, but still, every time I keep thinking I've surrendered, boom, I keep finding it's come back. It's still there. Like the person who's jumping out of a plane to do a skydive, and as they jump out, at the last second, they hold on the side of the plane, and they've got one hand holding the side of the plane, and the rest of their body is dangling over this infinite expanse of the unknown below. I keep catching myself doing this over and over again. I do have moments of frustration, I admit, but knowing that's not going to change anything. So I have to keep reminding myself to be self-compassionate, to keep being kind to this pattern, because it's tried to keep me safe, and it's terrified because it's still trying to keep me safe. So surrender can be theoretically simple, but sometimes when you've got a very entrenched pattern, it can be quite challenging. It sometimes needs to be done again. Sometimes the patterns do keep coming back up as we go deeper. And even though I think I've surrendered sometimes, and then I wake up the next day and there it is again. It's still back. It tricked me again. That's okay. Just keep doing it. I just keep going back in and trying to surrender, being willing to surrender to it, knowing that it will surrender in its own time. Allowing myself to be impatient at times, allowing myself to be frustrated at times, but going back and trying to just be compassionate and kind and try to surrender. It's supposedly a good sign that the ego is trying to trick me and can trick me so well, because it means I'm close to the end. It loves to tell us that we're not getting anywhere, or it loves to sabotage things. And, well, according to Dr. David Hawkins, that means we're getting close to overcoming or integrating the pattern. Integration is a much better word than overcoming. Overcoming is a bit more of a fight, and that's not what we want. We don't want resistance. Resistance is a sign the ego is, and the pattern is working and in charge. So integrating these into us, so it's part of us, but not controlling us, is what I'm aiming for. So this pattern, it's doing its damnedest to keep coming back. But I can see that I'm making progress. And I understand from reading the works of Michael Singer or David Hawkins that it is near its, we're getting closer to the end of it. It's just a very resourceful pattern. And I see that it is a very huge pattern of mine. And I think once this is fully integrated, I truly believe my dark night of the soul will hopefully see the dawn. But that is yet to occur. So I do my best to be kind, compassionate, loving to this pattern as I keep surrendering it to a higher power. And it keeps reminding me that it doesn't believe that there's a higher power and it might not happen. So, but I keep going back and surrendering, going, well, we've got enough evidence to the contrary. Let's keep going. So, my point today is the path has many tools to use, and we can get changes quick or sudden or slow. And sometimes we just have to just keep going and keep going back and keep being kind until eventually we notice it changing. Because things can often seem like they're not changing, and then we can make a quantum leap into the next higher state. And that can just happen in the blink of an eye. So at this point, I'm really looking forward to the blink of the eye that then sees me overcome this. Right. So now I will finish up with my usual weekly healing meditation, which I didn't do last week, so I will do it this week. I will just invite you to just check in with your body, how you're feeling, how much tension or resistance may be there before we start, and see if it changes. It may get less, may get more, it may not change. I just invite you to be curious about what may happen. Always when we're intending to change, something is changing. We just often aren't aware of it. And often when we let things go, we're not always aware of it. Because once it's left our consciousness, we're no longer conscious of it. So sometimes other people or time passes and we realize, oh, we haven't noticed that pattern for a while. Then we know we've healed it. And also, too, I invite you to sit down or lie down as you do this. Healing and meditation requires presence, which is in the moment. Doing two other activities at the same time, like driving, can be dangerous, but also doesn't allow us to connect with our inner wisdom, our true essence, which requires our presence in the present moment. So that said, I invite you, if you like, to close your eyes, sit back in the chair you're sitting in, just feel the chair supporting you. Feel the feet on the floor. Wiggle your toes if you like. If you feel called to, you can imagine roots going from the soles of your feet to the center of the earth to really ground you to the physical plane of the earth. I invite you to honor the four elements of the earth, the wind, the fire, and the water. I invite you to now imagine there's a cord running from the top of your head to the center of the universe, plugging you into all that is and the vast universe. Now you're connected to the universe above and the earth below. And if you like, you can place your hand on your heart and then just breathe low and slow in and out through the heart. filling up every cell of your body with all the inspiration and wisdom that you wish to breathe in. And as you breathe out, just let go of all that no longer serves you, all the patterns and toxins that you're willing to let go of. Now I invite you to just tune into the sensations in your body. Can you feel any sensations? They might be neutral, they might be pleasant, they might be unpleasant. Just recall if they're unpleasant that you're just sitting safely observing the sensations that are being held within your body. They're always there, but now we're tuning our attention to them, allowing them to be seen. This gets overwhelming. Just open your eyes, tune back into your five senses, feel your feet on the floor, tune into the sounds around you. Do something that grounds you into the five senses, just to bring you back into the present. If you can stay with any sensations in your body. I invite you to do so. Just allow them to be there. They may change, they may intensify, they may get less, or nothing may happen. Just be curious and non-judgmental as you witness them. Now I invite you to, again, just focus on the hand on the heart, if it's still there, and do 3 more low, slow breaths. This time, I want you to imagine what it would feel like if you were actually living from your highest version of yourself, your true essence. What would it feel like to live the life of your dreams? Who would you be? How would you feel? Can you feel those feelings in your body? Do you feel joy? And where do you feel it? Do you feel expansive and open? Do you feel peace or excitement? Do you get visions of what you might be doing? Who may be around you? Where you may be living? Who would you be and how would it feel to be the best version of yourself if there was no limitations, no barriers? And as we come to a close for this meditation, I just invite you just to tune back in to feeling your body on the chair. You can move your hands and feet, wiggle your fingers and toes, open your eyes. I invite you to check in with your body. Has anything changed? Do you feel lighter? Are the sensations more intense? Just know if that's the case, that these sensations are always within us. We often just suppress or repress them. And the first stage of healing is to allow them to come up to be seen. Once they can be seen, they often can pass through, and we know we've healed when we feel lighter and more peaceful. So I just invite you now to check in and I will sign off for this week. Have a great week.